This is the book of Second Esdras, chapter 16, verses 37 through 39. Behold, the plagues draw nigh, and are not slack, as when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son, with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains, when the child cometh forth, they slack not a moment. Even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth, and the world shall mourn, and sorrows shall come upon it on every side.
Regarding the ongoing situation in Iran, I know there has been a lot of speculation amongst all of you in the media regarding the president's decision-making and whether or not the United States will be directly involved. In light of that news, I have a message directly from the president, and I quote, "Based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, I will make my decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks." That's a quote directly from the president for all of you today. So we'll kick it off for questions here in our new media seat. We have Eli Lake from the Free Press. Eli, go ahead.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thank you.
The Free Press. The decision to extend the, delay in enforcing the TikTok ban.
Sure.
Can you talk about how the White House understands its constitutional authority in light of the Supreme Court's decision in January that said that the president had to enforce the ban?
Sure. Well, as all of you know, because the president put it out on his Truth Social today, he did sign an executive order to extend the TikTok ban for 90 days. So in the effort to make a deal, and the White House counsel and the Department of Justice have reviewed this executive order, and I can get it for you. I think it's on our website by now. If it's not, my team will now put it up immediately. And you can read the language in that executive order. And the White House counsel's office and the Department of Justice strongly believe in the legal rationale for this executive order. They wouldn't have the president's pen hit it if they didn't. And the political reasoning for this, of course, is because the president made a promise to keep TikTok on. There are 100 million Americans who use this app. It's wildly popular. He also wants to protect Americans' data and privacy concerns on this app, and he believes we can do both things at the same time. So he's making an extension so we can get this deal done.
Can I get a follow-up?
Sure.
A few weeks ago, Tucker Carlson reported on a meeting between the president, Mark Levin, and others at the White House. Is there a leak investigation, and can you say who else was in that meeting?
I'm not aware of a leak investigation at this time. I, for one, do not reveal details about the president's private meetings without his permission to do so. But certainly the president does not like when people leak. He takes that very seriously. This entire administration takes that seriously. And that's why you've seen at agencies, some of the cabinet secretaries have been given the authority by the president to let go of staff who are engaged in such leaks, especially those that risk American national security. Sure. Go ahead.
Caroline, thank you. So Rhino warmonger Lindsey Graham, he recently called on the U.S. to go all in.
That's quite the lead to a question.
Right. What's your message to everyday Trump supporters? Not the Tucker Carlsons or other big names, but everyday Trump supporters, grassroots who voted for President Trump to stop the wars, rejected this in the primary, going into another war, but voting against Nikki Haley, and they want to see non-U.S. involvement in this war. What's your message?
Trust in President Trump. President Trump has incredible instincts, and President Trump kept America and the world safe in his first term as president in implementing a peace through strength foreign policy agenda. And with respect to Iran, nobody should be surprised by the president's position that Iran absolutely cannot obtain a nuclear weapon. He has been unequivocally clear about this for decades, not just as president, not just as a presidential candidate, but also as a private citizen. In fact, I have some quotes for you. In 2011, President Trump said, "America's primary goal with Iran must be to destroy its nuclear ambitions. We cannot allow this radical regime to acquire a nuclear weapon that they will either use or hand off to terrorists." In 2015, the president said, "The problem is that Iran poses an existential threat to Israel, our Middle Eastern allies, and the United States." And of course, the president has repeated that in his first term as president and his second term as president as well. That's why he was adamantly opposed to the disastrous Iranian nuclear agreement that was implemented by President Obama. And it's why he has given great latitude and given a lot of effort to achieving a diplomatic solution. But he's been very clear. Iran went for 60 days when he gave them that 60-day warning without coming to the table. On day 61, Israel took action against Iran. And as I just told you from the president directly, he will make a decision within 2 weeks.
A follow-up?
Sure. Go ahead, Natalie.
Thanks, Caroline. Can you confirm whether Steve Witkoff has been in touch with the Iranian foreign minister? And does Witkoff plan to go to Geneva tomorrow for talks?
I am not tracking that on Mr. Witkoff's travel schedule, but I can certainly check in with him to be sure. As for correspondence between the United States and the Iranians, I can confirm that correspondence has continued. As you know, we were engaged with 6 rounds of negotiations with them in both indirect and direct ways.
Thanks, Kenneth. Just to clarify the president's statement just now, when he says that he'll make a decision in the next 2 weeks, is he saying that if Iran does not come back to the negotiating table within the next 2 weeks, that the president will strike?
The president is saying that he will make a decision whether or not to go within the next 2 weeks. It's very clear and direct.
And is he seeing any signs of progress? He obviously is holding out hope for negotiations, but is he seeing any inklings of progress that give him that hope that talks are still possible?
Well, that's why he said in the statement that I just read for all of you, based on the fact that there's a substantial chance of negotiations that may or may not take place with Iran in the near future, he will make that decision within the next 2 weeks.
What makes him think there's still a substantial chance, is my question.
I'm not going to get into the reasoning and the rationale the president believes that, but that's his position, and he will make a decision within the next.
So as you heard it here, Akim wa Akwath. All right, we in some serious times, man. You got Jake out here. When I say Jake, I'm talking about these other Israelites. Know that they Israelites in these other camps that are teaching false doctrines. And they're going over things and, and really don't even know what they signed up for or what's about to come down the pipe. Okay. I started off in 2nd Esdras 16 in verse 37, and I'll read it again to 39. It says, "Behold, the plagues draw nigh and are not slack." So what plagues are is talking about? Now, of course, it could be actual pestilence, like a disease or whatever. All right, but a plague is also nuclear warfare, man. Okay, and that plague is drawing near. Now, of course, and we're going to continue to reiterate it. All right, that type of plague is not going to hit America until that mark of the beast, which is the RFID chip, the radio frequency identification subdermal microchip that goes in between your hand, your thumb and your index finger, or in your head. All right, your dextrose, your power hand, or in your metapon, your forehead, your brain, a brain computer interface. Okay, and it's not slack. All right, meaning that it's not loose, it's tight, it's coming quickly. Verse 38, "As when a woman with child in the 9th month bringeth forth her son with 2 or 3 hours of her birth, great pains compass her womb, which pains when the child cometh forth, they slack, Salakia, not a moment." So we are literally in the birth pangs of the kingdom of Yahweh Shai coming, man. But and remember in Acts, matter of fact, let's go get that too. Because I always paraphrase it, but we're gonna go straight into it. All right, this is the book of Acts, chapter 14 and verse 22. It says, "Confirming the souls of the disciples and exhorting them to continue in the faith." And that's exactly what we're doing, man. Okay, see, your soul has to be conformed because Yahweh Shai is the bishop of our souls, and the Lord set up certain men over us. We entered into other men's labors, so he confirms, he makes it strong that it's upon foundation for those that are of the elect of Israel, all right, of the disciples, the learners, the students, the pupils of his, and exhorting them, persuading them, right, to continue in this faith. What is faith? Hebrews 11:1. "For faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen," which we're waiting for a place where dwelleth the righteousness, as the prophet Peter said. All right. It says, "And that we must through much tribulation enter into the kingdom of the Most High." You see, So going back into Second Esdras chapter 16, going back to verse 38, we are in the birth pains, man. This thing is ramping up. All right. The contractions are getting quicker and quicker. Okay. And it's a great pain that is compassing her womb, or should we say, the judgments is increasing and is happening more frequently as we're getting into this time. Okay. And that child coming forth, and you could really kind of represent that child being in the return of Yahweh Shai, you know, coming forth, man, you know, because before, you know, the kingdom, Yahweh Shai's kingdom come, much tribulation had to happen, which is all of these pains. All right. And it's not slacking for a moment, meaning you can't stop it. Okay. Even verse 39, even so shall not the plagues be slack to come upon the earth. So the plague is being compared or contrasted to a woman that is pregnant when the baby is about to be delivered. Okay, it says, and the world shall mourn. All right, remember this book is written in lamentations, mournings, and woe. So a lot of crying, a lot of gnashing and a weeping of teeth. All right, a lot of skilled lamenters, women. It's just going to be complete chaos and death, mass amount of death that's going to be happening upon the earth, and it's increasing and increasing. It says, and sorrows shall come upon it, upon what? Upon the world, in the sense of oikomeni, all right, meaning the whole inhabited earth, you know. It says on every side. So this is going to be everywhere from the four corners of the earth, man. All right. But notice how she was trying to say, as if Nero, which is Donald Trump in the reincarnation, all right, that as if just to trust him, because there was a reporter that asked, what about the Trump supporters, right, that went into this thing talking about anti-war, and they voted for him off of that, as if your vote matters, which it don't. Presidents are selected, not elected. Okay. And she was like, oh, well, from 2011, he said that, you know, Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. So it shows you that these people had cognitive dissonance. They was based going upon white supremacy or some type of financial upliftment that they was trying to get, all right, by voting for him, even though his stance really hasn't changed, because he's bought and paid for by the international banking family, specifically the Amalekites, obviously, all right, because he understands what he has to do if people have paid for him to get into this power seat as the king of Babylon, all right? So there is no stopping this, okay? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 51 and verse 8 and 9. It says, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Now, how is Babylon going to be suddenly fall and destroyed? This is the missiles, and you know it because it says suddenly. Okay, because people be like, Babylon is falling, and it is on a moral, societal standpoint. But when it's fully on the ground, in the dust, so to speak, is because the missiles have destroyed it. It says, howl for her. And this is what all the other merchants of the kings of the earth is going to do. They're going to howl for Babylon when it's destroyed by the missiles, pursuant to Revelation chapter 18. It says, take balm for her pain. Now, this is what you would do in the ancient world, just like how you would do now. You get a little cut, put a little neosporin on it to try to relieve the pain and things of that nature, as if the wound is going to, over time, you know, heal itself. All right. You know, so that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take balm for seeing that Babylon is about to fall, is about to be destroyed by missiles in World War III. So that it's they're trying to take the offensive. And this is why in 2 weeks we go see, man. Oh man. I'll speak as a man, because the scriptures say, I'm gonna go back to Jeremiah. It's because the visions be so vivid, You know, if the Lord is supping with you and dealing with you, and then you reading these scriptures, it's literally like you're time traveling into the future, because we could do that same thing with the past. And this is how you know the scriptures is like, it's literally the understanding of it is a spiritual power on a low level, you know. And when I say low level, not as if it's insignificant, but meaning, you know, it's literally a power that can only be wielded by those that is in congruence or in agreement with the Holy Spirit, which is basically the angels working on your minds to understand the prophecies written therein. Right? This is the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 13 and 9. It says, "For we know in part and we prophesy in part." So I'm prophesying based on what the scriptures is literally saying from what I've been taught from the elder apostles of Great Millstone on down, which is through my faith and belief that is 100% true. All right. We do not know exactly how, but we know that it will happen, because that's what the Bible says, and the Bible does not contradict itself. But now going back to Jeremiah 51, all right. So they're wondering if she can be healed. Verse 9 says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed." So they're trying to do things to heal Babylon, but there is no type of balm. There is no, you know, far right, conservative, Republican, you know, trying to uplift morally or to come back, some type of Christian revival, whatever they think that can happen, it's over with. And they're slowly seeing that. You know what I'm saying? These Edomites and things of that, they really know it, but they're trying to fight themselves. But see, this is why, you know, violence literally has to come onto the shores of America for people to fully understand the ramifications, all right, of Revelation 18, what is that in verse 4, that her sins have reached unto heaven. See, the Lord has to do something, you know, and the Lord hears the prayers of the elect, because we're constantly asking the Lord, how long? You know, that they're wearing us out. All this wickedness is around us, and we're rehearsing these righteous acts because we want to please you, Father. Abba, our spirit is in the spirit of Abba, you know, which is Father, which is, you know, we honor you as, you know, and you take care of us. Therefore, we will do what you say, because that's what love is. It's that obedience unto the commandments, as Yahushua said. Jeremiah 51 and 9, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go every one into his own country." And this is happening now, but it's going to happen on a very higher level. When you see how when Nero told Tehran in Iran, a 17 million metropolitan area, that evacuate, and people was leaving literally the same day, right? When if in the next 2 weeks he decides to, you know, let's say so-called strike Iran, whatever it may be, you know, which was still going to be on skirmish, because, you know, that chip has to be pushed. But the amount of people that is going to understand that, listen, this is the beginning now of World War III, right? And it's going to increase. And in order to advantage and survive and take care of my family, the men is usually going to make this decision for their families from all these other different nations. They're going to start to leave America. And then there's going to try to be a holding back of that, of the government, because they're going to need men and women, for that matter, to be in the draft, because that draft is coming. War is coming. And this is in the sense of foreign war, when all these domestic, class, race, civil war is going to be happening all at the same time. This is the beginning of Jacob's trouble, because who gonna get the brunt end of the stick? You so-called Negro, Latino, Native Americans, man. All right. It says, "For her judgment reaches unto heaven." See, this is why I brought out Revelation 18. It says, "And is lifted up even to the skies." Okay, which is basically, you know, a metaphor for the record of all of the wickedness and evil and iniquity and sin as a system that these Edomites used America for, right, has reached a point where the times of the Gentiles, or should I say these Edomites, have been fulfilled, and now it's time for the Lord to rise up. Okay, that can go. Matter of fact, that takes me to Psalms 83. Let's get Psalms 83, and I'm gonna just get, because we know about verse 6 on down with the nations. All right, but verse 1 is the point that the elect is the spirit that the elect is in. It says a song, or Psalm of Asaph. Keep not thou silence, O power. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O power. You see? So we asking the Father, you know, to not just sit back, but to do something, because the prudent foreseeth the evil and is trying to hide ourselves in your name, because the righteous runneth to the name of the Lord and is safe. You know what I'm saying? So we asking for that protection, just like a little kid. They, you know, on TikTok, there was something that I was like, you want your child to walk, this is what you do, and the child is holding up but can't really walk on itself, but they be scared of the loud vacuum. So you get the vacuum behind your little bath or your little bond, right? And then the next thing you know, they running and crying or whatever, and they run into whoever's recording, you know, the content creator type parenting. But the point is that when that baby was scared, it was running to who it thought it was safe, whether it be mommy or daddy, Amma or Abba, right? So this is the same spirit that the elect is doing, because we know truly who we fear and where these things is coming from, and it's from the Lord. And he's just using Esau, Edom, the wicked, which is thy sword on the left-hand side, to bring about all the you know, these scenarios that is coming upon the earth, these plagues that is not have slack, man. So what's to come is, you know, astronomical, man. And this to me seems like, because they keep pushing on the mainstream media, we know that they lie. Esau is a liar. He's, as his father, the devil, from the beginning.